The story takes place in a small coastal town, lost among the rocks and gloomy forests, where tourists are afraid to look. Locals talk about one strange legend, that somewhere in the old forest lives a mysterious puppeteer, capable of controlling people like dolls. They avoid mentioning his name and only whisper his story from the older generation to the younger, trying to ensure that outsiders never learn the truth. A young journalist, Victor, trying to collect materials for his new article, accidentally stumbles upon this legend, heard in an old library from an elderly woman who worked there as a guard. Her story, full of rustlings and sidelong glances, sounds incredible, but Victor decides that this will be his breakthrough. He decides to spend a few weeks in the city to find out for himself what is happening in these places. The next morning, armed with a notebook and a camera, Victor goes into the forest. He follows a path shrouded in fog until he comes across a small hut hidden among the trees. It looks abandoned, the door is half open, the windows are dusty, and the walls are peeling with age. Victor carefully enters, expecting to see empty rooms, but inside the hut he is greeted by something completely different. The room is full of old dolls, wooden, clay, sometimes without eyes or arms. They sit everywhere, on shelves, tables, hanging from the ceiling on ropes. Their faces are empty, but at the same time they seem alive, as if they are watching every movement. In the center of the room stands a huge doll house. Its windows are open, and inside you can make out tiny furniture and figurines that seem to reflect the room Victor is in. Victor takes a step forward, and suddenly one of the dolls behind him begins to move, as if someone is tugging at it. Then another and a third. Barely audible footsteps and the sounds of wooden things fill the room. Victor feels as if something is watching him, squeezing him in an invisible grip. He tries to leave the hut, but the door is locked. In a panic, he looks around and notices several old photographs on the wall. One of them shows a man similar to the puppeteer, tall, in a black cloak and with piercing eyes, who seems to be looking straight at him. The dolls gradually come to life, and Victor realizes that these are not just old toys, but carriers of something sinister and ancient. He turns back to the dollhouse and sees a tiny figure there in clothes remarkably similar to his own. Horror pierces him, and he realizes that he has gone too far. The darkness thickened outside the windows, and with it came the puppeteer himself, whose shadow became visible through the dusty glass. He quietly taps his fingers on the glass, and an icy voice echoes in the room. "You didn't come here by chance, Victor. Now you will be part of my collection."